This is Cinnamon on the mic, literally on the mic, because I'm not showing my face on this particular channel anymore for reasons I'm going to explain in a minute. But this video goes out to the viewers who watch my videos frequently. However, be warned, because these videos are not for the faint of heart, and I'm talking about my enemies. So you watch this at your own risk. Most of you who watch my content or lurk on this channel probably have seen my videos about Blackville and Toontown. I've kind of analyzed who watches my videos based off where people are talking about them within the Discord, so I kind of have an idea of who might watch this one. I posted some Blackville videos and deleted them a while back, and the reason I deleted those videos is because I was in my feelings at the time, and not only that, I did not learn my lesson yet, because I was still arguing with those people. So the videos would have aged poorly anyway. I posted some very vulnerable, rushed, unscripted videos. They felt rushed, I felt awkward, and the content didn't align with my later perspective. The lesson wasn't learned yet, and it was my first time recording myself being that vulnerable, so it was already awkward enough looking away and trying to muster up the courage to talk. I moved from a raw, nervous exposure to a strategic, prepared format. So this is a cycle of developing a personal craft and a persona. So the reason for this cycle is to find a mode of communication that feels authentic yet sustainable for my viewers. I took some mental notes on how I should format my videos from now on, and I'm comfortable recording my videos audibly. That way you don't get to see my face or me looking all nervous and looking away trying to form more words. Uh, so yeah, I wrote a script, so you won't get any more potential pauses during the video. So let's get on with the video. So I did a full script of what I'm getting ready to talk about because I do not feel like pausing and trying to figure out what to say. So I just wrote a script. So if I sound like a robot, you know why. All right. So in this video, I'm going to be exploring the dark side of Toontown and how it affects the mental. This is my story of how I almost died, but survived Toontown. My suicide attempts are not a rarity. They have become a stronger part of my product to this environment. I have moved from the theory of learning cycles into the raw, lived experience of a traumatic cycle, one that nearly cost me my life. The dark side of Toontown is clearly a metaphor, which is the dark side of Toontown, for the underbelly of online communities, social dynamics, and cancel culture. Unfortunately, evildoers want to bring down the good in people. Look, I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, nor am I a saint, but I have fought a hard battle to protect my family, my reputation, my dignity, and respect. What is even a reputation if some stranger can easily turn everyone against you on an online space full of trolls and doubters? It's like they want to carry pitchforks and sink you even more into the dark depths of the Toontown iceberg. Does my lack of respectful, good reputation make me a target of being affected by society's perfect image, or affect me from putting on this perfect act? Or do I become a target of slander and defamation that will never die? Well, here's what I've learned. None of it really matters to some extent, because the good apples have to protect their image twice as hard because they have been canceled, and the bad apples never get caught. The only difference is I have already been canceled, so I am swimming in a tank full of sharks. It's like living in an ocean full of hunters. The fish get hunted by the sharks and they get killed, but did the poor little fish deserve it? One can say sure. It's a eat or be eaten world, but why? Does a good fish deserve to die? And does a good human deserve to get eaten by cancel culture? If you answered yes, then anyone can be eaten and nobody is off limits, including cancel culture. Because believe it or not, everybody has skeletons in their closet. It's just that some people are better at hiding it. Those types of people Are they living in their truth? Are they being their authentic selves? Or is it a front? Because I have been accused for things I haven't even done, and people have created this false narrative of me, making the sheep, whom are gullible enough to believe it, believe these accusations without question. So people have this perception already in their head about me without really getting to know me. Is it their fault, or are they just naive? Maybe maybe we're all being lied to and programmed. I mean, they do say we're living in a matrix, but who are they? Well, when you've awakened, you'll know what I'm talking about. The attempt to maintain a perfect act or a good reputation is shown to be a fragile defense against a mob that will attack you for being vulnerable or authentic. The cycle's brutal lesson is your reputation is not yours to control in the eyes of others, which I think is kind of fair, but to a certain extent, because somebody else can write your story without anybody believing the authentic story you wrote yourself. And here are some key words to break it down for you. Your old cycle means to live for reputation. But when your reputation is destroyed, the self is destroyed, hypothetically. So does that mean that the reputation was just a mask because somebody can easily rewrite yours? But here's the lesson learned. The reputation game is a rigged, inauthentic system, a front that many people create for themselves and can easily be destroyed through your own actions or the opinions of others just by simply slandering you. And this is coming from someone who lived this from a place of having survived total destruction of my reputation. Speak raw truths about the system itself, even if from a tank full of sharks. But vulnerability is no longer awkward like the old deleted videos. It is now my armor and my message. This is the experience. It's misspelled because it's messy, painful, and non academic. It's lived. The reason for the cycle. So, destruction and private despair was to kill the version of me that depended on the community's opinion. The survivor, who is making this video, is the outcome. I am now creating content from the wreckage, which has a power that a rather polished, reputation protecting seeking content never could. I have power in my own character. Nobody gets to write my story for me. And I am choosing to tell my own story and challenge those who are afraid to speak up for themselves. Because cancel culture is a predatory, predator prey cycle masquerading as justice. The good fish, the well intentioned but flawed person, gets eaten not because it's the most guilty, but because it's the most available or at least adept at hiding its flaws. The true hunters are those who are better at hiding it, thus maintaining their position to judge. The ultimate painful question is any community, any social matrix, ultimately just a series of these predator cycles? It is awakening the realization that you must either hide your skeletons perfectly or be prepared to be destroyed, and then rebuild from there. It takes a lot of strength to overcome 5 years of predatory claims, rumors, and defamation, but it's even worse when it's online and you can't do anything to change people's outlook on you. The internet, sadly, is a mirror of the real world, and it can seep into our daily lives like poison. It's more than just a mental game, it's reality, and these shitheads can't seem to wrap their heads around it. It's not an inner conflict, it's a systematic toxic pattern that ceases to end. Because the trolls, the bullies, the cyber criminals, they think, oh, it's just the internet. It's not real. Well, newsflash, this is real. This is real life. It's real. Everything is real. Sure, you can just click the block button, but when somebody knows your address, your name, and who your family is, that's a different type of horror because it's not just the internet anymore. It becomes a reality of, oh, this is real. I can't just teleport away like on Toontown or log off from the internet. Why? Because it's affected my waking life so much to the point where these people know my identity. And these kinds of people and this kind of knowing doesn't happen to a lot of people. But the good people, people like me, we get the short end of the stick every time. And the thought of someone fucking with you in real time gets worse once you realize the horror stories of people sending smoke bombs, SWAT teams, and mail to people's houses. And this has happened in the Toontown community before. And this is coming from a Toontown community of all places. A place for escape, a place that's supposed to be um, a place where you can have fun and build a community, something that's supposed to be positive. But it's just the internet, right? Nothing can go wrong. They'll never track me down wrong because they can and they will. You just got to be smart enough not to fall for their tricks. But I'm not going to get into that right now. It's so easy to find people's information on the internet, which is also another concern I have. Not to mention, I have been battling with depression for years, way before Discord or the Toontown community, so cyberstalking has made my anxiety 10 times worse. And not to mention, YouTubers have offed themselves due to allegations of predatory claims that have been untrue. So that heightens the paranoia. For the simple fact that I can too fall victim of suicide, given enough exposure to harassers, because my enemies have admitted to trolling me for months and even faking friendships due to these allegations. So my dreams of one day being a YouTube vlogger can no longer be sustained because I fear that these people will tell everybody false claims and ruin my career. The mirror cracks. Online hate doesn't stay contained. It creates real world anxiety, depression, and the inner conflict others dismiss. The block button becomes meaningless when the cycle forcibly exits the digital realm. The imagination runs to the worst outcomes: swatting, mail threats, physical harassment. The environment is now permanently toxic, both online and off. The internet and the real life are not separate realms. The community, Toontown, is not an escape, and it never will be. It could become the vector for your worst nightmares. The learned skill, you just gotta be smart enough not to fall for their tricks. This is the grim knowledge gained. Operational security, paranoia, as survival strategy. The good fish learns it must stop being a naive fish to survive the sharks. But the irony is, we shouldn't have to do that, because in a world where authenticity and fairness should exist, there is none, and the good fish must drown in a tank full of sharks. This experience is the ultimate proof of the matrix. The systems of community, friendship, and online identity are revealed to be shockingly fragile and easily weaponized. The awakened state is, in part, a state of permanent defensive awareness. When you become aware, you realize that you are up against sharks disguised as whales, because we all know whales are harmless, which is ironic given that whales are the biggest fish around. Yet they don't have sharp pointy teeth, but yet are seen as harmless. The cycle of harassment exists for the predator's reason: to exert power, to entertain themselves, to destroy a target. The cycle exists for the victim's reason: their learning experience, to annihilate any remaining innocence about online spaces, to teach that survival sometimes means withdrawing, hiding data, and understanding the criminal potential of trolls. My point is that this phenomenon is not happening to a lot of people is crucial. It creates isolation. The common dismissal of just log off, it's not real, ignore them. But my reality is that I can't just tap away. These people know my identity. This gap is understanding between the general public and a targeted individual is a problem. This video is an attempt to build a bridge across that platform. That brick wall that I keep shouting, the water is in this tank, is real. And it is full of sharks, and I am bleeding. But it's like that meme on Discord. I'm talking to a brick wall and everyone is on the other side just chilling. Now let's talk about the toxic, never-ending cycle of drama that takes place within the community. I've come to realize that no matter how hard I try to reason with people, the toxic cycle will never end because the community, the bad apples, refuse to acknowledge that the real world is not separate from the digital world. Everything we do, whether that be Instagram, Facebook, Discord, is a mirror of our lives. We post about how we're feeling, what we're doing, who we connect with. It's a part of our real lives. Now, Discord is a little trickier, considering from what I've gathered, most people have a persona, so it's harder to determine whether a person is who they claim they are. But with enough observation, they are still a reflection of who they project in the waking world. It's just that it's in a digital space. They don't hide their toxic selves because they assume they cannot be found out, and genuinely believe they cannot be read. So it's safer to be an absolute judgmental piece of shit on the internet, but people like me don't get those luxuries, as we are already discovered. Not because we are bad people, but because we were slandered. We were exiled by cancel culture, so we don't get any respect, while the bad people get all the respect. See what I did there? It's like we're living in a world full of sharks and fake people, and the bad stay afloat. And I don't know if it's a system these people operate under to survive, but in my opinion, it's not effective because survival for me is draining. I want to live, not survive, but to live, to breathe, to not hold my breath underwater in a tank full of sharks. It's not sustainable because I am not prey. I should be able to plop my head above the water beds and breathe, waiting for a ship to come and save me, but no ship comes. And after spending enough time and thought thinking about it, going to psych wards, hospitals, dealing with suicide, depression, nights of crying, and nonstop betrayals of the worst kind, and I can come to terms that the online doxing and cyber stalking is taxing on my mental health and has caused me paranoia. It's a thing where you know it's not fair, but nobody is going to care unless there's money involved, or if it's not because it hasn't happened to them yet, or at least the extent it has to you. So you suffer in isolation, but nobody gets it. They all think you are either overreacting or just plain crazy. Is having suicidal thoughts a bad thing, or am I just supposed to act like I'm always fine when I know this is not fine? The deliberate disconnect practiced by the bad apples, they operate on the flawed and dangerous notes of the digital world is not real, therefore my actions have no real consequences. The reaction, the good people, the targeted, the discovered individuals cannot use this disconnect. Their real lives are already breached. For them, the digital is inescapably real. The outcome. This creates a fundamental power imbalance. The predator attacks from a realm of perceived impunity. The prey defends from a realm of total vulnerability. This is why the good drown and the bad stay afloat. The bad are kept afloat by their own indifference to the harm they cause. My experience is so extreme outside the norm of mean comments that it becomes untranslatable. The common advice, ignore it, log off, is not just useless, it's a slap in the face, proof that the listener cannot or will not comprehend the reality of my prison. Being labeled overreacting or crazy is the final insult, a dismissal of my reality that adds gaslighting to their existing injuries. It becomes more than just connecting. These people want to connect to your real world, what you're up to, where you live, etc. That is a sad reality. What is the point of a persona then? Why not just be authentic? Why hide behind a computer screen? What are you trying to hide? Why do you like to dox people? What do you gain? A sense of power? Why? What is really going on here? I'm not going to say too much because this is a loaded topic, but what I will say is this. The internet has become society's stomping ground for the shadow self to take full force. It is a place of evildoers, speaking before thinking, being rude, arrogant, and feeling invincible. You think you are a god in this digital arena, but I beg you, drop the ego, because this arena is full of snakes in the grass, and you too will get bitten. The feeling of being a god is inflated by anonymity and distance from consequence, which means being anonymous. But then again, I am a sunflower in the field of snakes. I always get bitten first because I am authentic, visible, growing toward the light, vulnerable by its nature. It does not hide, it cannot. A sunflower cannot hide. The field of snakes, the online ecosystem where danger is camouflage, motives are hidden, and strikes come from below, like a snake. This is the tragic cost of my integrity in a corrupted system. My visibility makes me the easiest, most obvious target. In a field where everyone else is low to the ground in disguise, the one standing tall, open-faced, is the first casualty. But it's hard to be this authentic when everyone else is hiding a part of themselves nobody else can see. What you cannot see on Discord doesn't mean you aren't being watched. Someone is always keeping tabs on you. Let that be a warning to the naive. Your persona is not a perfect cloak. Data leaks, patterns emerge, and people start to connect the dots. This is my own reality. I live under constant observation, my every move potentially monitored by those who wish me harm. I am a Toontown veteran who is spreading a message passed from one veteran of the digital war zone to the listeners. This means guard your information, doubt appearances, understand that the playground is also a battlefield. The reason for the larger toxic cycle is to expose the internet as the shadow self staging ground, where where being inauthentic is armor and authenticity is a target. In real life, tracking someone requires physical effort, resources, risk of being seen, and knowledge of investigative techniques. But on the internet, tracking someone, like doxing, often requires only patience, basic skills, and willingness to violate norms. The barrier to entry is terrifyingly low. Information is the currency, and most people have left a trail of receipts. As a victim of cyberstalking, because I am the sunflower in a field of snakes, I have learned why I was bitten first and most viciously. My authenticity made my textbook coherent and readable. My trust led me to share chapters of myself I shouldn't have. My attacker simply read the book, connected the dots I never thought to obscure, and used the information as a map to my real life. Understand you are writing a textbook with every click. Know that there are people who read not for connection, but for ammunition. Realize the digital and real world share one seamless landscape, and the bridges between them are built with your own data. The learning experience is complete. The cycle's reason was to transform my story from a participant in a community of digital danger. I have mapped the terrain, from the philosophical heights down to the technical bedrock, and returned to tell all you lovely viewers the ground is not solid, and the shadows are keeping perfect records. This is my survival guide, written from inside the trenches itself, on how to survive cyberstalking, cancel culture, doxing, and to save yourself from death. Specifically, if you are already suffering from depression, stay safe.